My name is Callum Rourke. I'm 37 years old, and I work as an interior designer in Asheville, North Carolina. I specialize in high-end residential renovations, the kind where clients trust you with their vision and their six-figure budgets. I've built a solid reputation in the local circuit. I'm not flashy, I'm methodical. I don't rush into things, especially relationships. But when I trust someone, I trust completely. I met Danica Ellery at an architecture expo in Atlanta in February 2023. She was 32 at the time, worked as a personal branding consultant, and had this warm, magnetic presence. But there was something else, something underneath, a sadness that felt old, permanent. She told me she'd cut ties from her family over complicated reasons and mostly kept to herself, only maintaining contact with work colleagues. I didn't push. I respected her privacy the way I'd want mine respected. We built something together, or so I thought. She'd stay over at my place in Asheville. We'd cook together, talk about design and marketing strategies. She seemed genuinely interested in my work, asked smart questions about project management and client relations. But looking back, those questions slowly shifted. She started asking about my investments, my retirement accounts, whether I'd ever considered joint banking. She'd bring up marriage casually, like testing the waters. And every time I suggested meeting her friends or family, she'd deflect. "They're not worth your time," she'd say. "You're all I need." If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. I wanted to believe her, so I planned something special. Her birthday was coming up in September 2024, and I decided I'd propose. I rented out a private dining room at the Admiral, one of Asheville's nicest restaurants, for about $1,800. I invited about 30 people, mostly my friends and a handful of her work contacts. I had the ring, a custom platinum band with a sapphire center stone that cost me $7,200. I even arranged for a projector screen to display photos of us throughout the evening. Everything was perfect. 20 minutes before the toast, I excused myself to use the restroom. On my way back through the hallway, I passed two women, acquaintances of Danica from her consulting network. They were standing near the bar, talking in low voices. I wasn't eavesdropping. I just happened to walk by at the exact wrong or maybe right moment. One of them said, "I can't believe she's still married. How long can she keep this up?" The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Froze for a second, then kept walking as if I'd heard nothing. My heart was pounding. My hands went cold. I walked straight out of the restaurant, got into my car, and opened my laptop. I called Lauren, a lawyer friend of mine in Raleigh. She owed me a favor from a design job I'd done for her office the year before. "Lauren, I need you to run a records check. Now." It took 10 minutes. 10 minutes to confirm what part of me already knew but didn't want to believe. Danica Lorraine Ellery was legally married. The marriage license was filed in Henrico County, Virginia, in March 2018. Her husband's name was Brian Ellery. They'd never divorced. I sat there in the car, staring at the PDF Lauren sent me. Every memory replayed in my head with a new lens. The isolation, the vague family drama, the pressure to merge finances, the rush toward marriage. It all made sense now. She wasn't building a life with me. She was setting up an escape plan, or worse, running a con while still tied to someone else. For a few minutes, I considered just leaving, driving away, ending it quietly. But then I realized she'd do this to someone else. The next guy might not have the resources to protect himself, and I wouldn't be complicit in that. I took a deep breath. I closed the laptop, and I walked back into that restaurant with a smile on my face. Danica was standing near the entrance when I walked back in. She smiled, that same warm smile I'd fallen for. She wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "I'm so lucky to have you." I hugged her back. I didn't say anything. I just held her for a moment, feeling the weight of what I now knew pressing down on my chest. The guests were already seated. The room was buzzing with conversation, laughter, the clinking of glasses. My friends were there, people I'd known for years. Her side of the room was mostly colleagues, a few consultants she worked with, people who praised her professionalism and her authentic personal brand. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent months planning this night. I'd written a speech about trust, about partnership, about building a future together. Now, standing there with the ring box in my jacket pocket and a marriage certificate on my laptop, I realized I had a different kind of speech to give. I walked over to the AV setup. The technician was adjusting the projector for the photo slideshow. I told him there'd been a change of plans. I handed him a USB drive, the same one I'd prepared for our photos, but I'd just replaced the file with the PDF Lauren sent me. He looked confused but nodded. "Just display this when I give you the signal," I said. I took my seat next to Danica. She was glowing, laughing with the woman next to her, sipping champagne. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. "This is perfect," she said. "Thank you for tonight?" "Of course," I replied. "Anything for you." Dinner was served. Seared duck breast, roasted vegetables, a wine pairing I'd selected weeks ago. Everyone complimented the food, the venue, the atmosphere. Danica kept reaching for my hand under the table. Each time I squeezed back, playing the role of the devoted boyfriend. Inside, I was calculating every word, every gesture. One of her colleagues, a woman named Patricia who ran a PR firm in Charlotte, stood up during appetizers and gave a toast. "To Danica," she said, raising her glass, "one of the most genuine, honest people I know. A woman who truly lives her values." People cheered. Danica blushed, waved her hand dismissively. "You're too kind," she said. I smiled. I didn't say a word. As dessert was being cleared, I stood up. The room quieted. Danica looked at me with anticipation, her eyes bright. She thought this was it. The moment. I could see it in her face. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began. My voice was steady, calm. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate someone very special. Danica has been a huge part of my life for the past year and a half. She's taught me a lot about trust, about honesty, about the importance of being genuine. She was beaming. A few people smiled knowingly, expecting what came next. "I had something planned for tonight," I continued. "Something big. But about 20 minutes ago I learned something that changed everything." The room shifted. A few confused glances. Danica's smile faltered slightly, but she tried to hold it. I turned to the AV tech and nodded. The projector screen lit up behind me, and there it was, the marriage certificate. Danica Lorraine Ellery and Brian Ellery, Henrico County, Virginia, filed March 2018. Official seal, signatures. The room went silent. "I was going to propose tonight," I said, my voice cutting through the stillness. "But I found out someone else got there first." Danica's face drained of color. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Callum, wait. This isn't what?" I interrupted, turning to face her directly. "Isn't what it looks like? Because it looks like you're married, legally married, and you forgot to mention that." She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I was going to tell you. It's complicated. We've been separated for years. You just never got around to filing for divorce?" I finished for her. "Funny. You found time to pressure me about joint bank accounts, though. You found time to ask about my retirement portfolio. You even found time to plan our future together. But divorce paperwork? That was too complicated?" People were staring. Some looked shocked. Others looked down at their plates, uncomfortable. Patricia, the PR woman, looked like she'd seen a ghost. Danica's voice cracked. "Please, can we talk about this privately?" "Why?" I asked. "You wanted a public celebration. Here it is." I turned back to the room. "I want everyone here to know something. Danica makes her living as a personal branding consultant. She advises executives, politicians, public figures on how to manage their image, how to build trust, how to be authentic." I paused, letting that sink in. "And this entire time she's been lying to me, to you, to everyone in this room about who she really is." I looked at her one last time. She was trembling, tears starting to well up in her eyes. But I didn't feel sympathy. I felt clarity. He'll get this video, I said, gesturing to the screen. Your husband, Brian, so will your clients. Let's see who still wants to hire you after this. I picked up my jacket, walked past her without another word, and left the restaurant. Behind me, I could hear her voice, desperate, trying to explain, trying to salvage something. But it was too late. The truth was out. And truth, once exposed, doesn't go back into hiding. I sat in my car for a few minutes, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. My phone started buzzing. Messages from friends at the party, calls from Danica. I ignored all of it. I drove home, poured myself a bourbon, and sat on my back deck looking out at the Blue Ridge Mountains in the distance. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt free. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. Most were from Danica. Please call me. Let me explain. You don't understand the full story. I never meant to hurt you. I deleted them without reading past the first few words. A handful were from friends who'd been at the dinner, checking in, offering support. I responded to those with simple thank yous. Lauren called around 9. I saw the video, she said. It's already making rounds on social media. Someone recorded it and posted it. It's going viral in business circles. I hadn't expected that. I just wanted the truth out there, wanted Danica to face consequences among the people who mattered to her professionally. But apparently, someone at the party had filmed the whole thing on their phone. By midday, it had thousands of views, mostly shared within marketing and consulting networks across the Southeast. The comments were brutal. Imagine hiring someone to manage your reputation when they can't even manage their own life. This woman advises CEOs on authenticity? What a joke. If she lied about being married, what else is she lying about? I didn't share the video myself. I didn't have to. The internet did the work for me. By the following Tuesday, 3 days after the party, I started hearing from mutual contacts. Patricia, the PR executive who'd given that glowing toast, sent me a private message. I terminated our contract with Danica this morning. Our firm can't be associated with someone who operates with that level of deception. I'm sorry you went through this. Another client, a real estate developer in Charlotte I'd worked with on a few projects, called me directly. I had Danica on retainer for media training, he said. Paid her $11,000 for a 6-month package. I just fired her. If she can't be honest in her personal life, I don't trust her to represent my company publicly. One by one, her professional world collapsed. The video became a case study in what not to do, a cautionary tale shared in marketing forums and LinkedIn posts. Personal branding starts with personal integrity, one industry blogger wrote, linking directly to the footage. Danica tried to control the damage. She posted a vague statement on her website about private matters being misunderstood and taking time to focus on personal growth. But it was too late. Her credibility was shattered. The very thing she sold, authenticity, was the one thing she couldn't fake anymore. I didn't gloat. I didn't post about it. I just went back to work. My phone rang one afternoon in early October 2024 while I was reviewing blueprints for a mountain cabin renovation in Boone. It was a blocked number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Callum. It was Danica. Her voice sounded hollow, exhausted. Please, just hear me out. Why? I asked. What's left to say? I made a mistake, she said. A huge mistake. But I never wanted to hurt you. Brian and we've been separated for 4 years. The marriage was over long before I met you. I couldn't afford the divorce, the legal fees, the asset division. It was complicated, and I kept putting it off. So you thought the solution was to hide it, I said. To build a relationship with me while still legally bound to someone else? To push for us to get married without ever mentioning you already were? I was going to tell you, she insisted. I was. I just didn't know how. You had 1.5 years, I said. 1.5 years to find the words. Instead, you asked about my investment accounts. You wanted joint bank access. You pressured me about marriage. That's not love, Danica. That's strategy. She was quiet for a moment. Then softly she said, I loved you, I still do. No, I replied. You loved what I represented. Stability, security, an exit plan from whatever mess you were running from. But you didn't love me. You don't lie to people you love. I lost everything because of you, she said, her voice breaking. My clients, my reputation, my career. Was it worth it? Destroying me like that? I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window at the mountains. I didn't destroy you, Danica. I just showed people who you really are. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided to build a life on lies. She hung up. I never heard from her again. Over the next few weeks, I focused on work. I took on a new project, a full renovation of a historic craftsman home in downtown Asheville. The clients were a couple in their 60s, celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary by restoring the house they'd bought as newlyweds. They talked about trust, about building something together brick by brick, year by year. I found it grounding. My friends rallied around me. They took me out for dinners, invited me to weekend hikes, reminded me that good people still existed. Lauren checked in regularly. You did the right thing, she told me one evening over drinks. A lot of guys would have just walked away quietly, let her keep playing her game. You made sure she couldn't do this to someone else. I hadn't thought of it that way, but she was right. If I'd just left without exposing her, Danica would have moved on to the next target, the next well-meaning guy with a stable income and trusting nature. Maybe I saved someone else from going through what I did. I heard through the grapevine that Danica tried to rebuild her consulting business in Richmond, closer to where Brian still lived. But the video followed her. Every time she pitched a new client, someone would find it, share it, and the deal would fall through. Her name had become synonymous with hypocrisy in professional circles. I didn't take pleasure in her suffering, but I didn't feel guilty either. She'd made her choices. I'd simply made sure those choices had consequences. One Saturday morning in late October 2024, I was at a coffee shop in West Asheville when a woman approached me. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. "You're Callum, right?" she asked. "Yeah," I said cautiously. "I was at that dinner," she explained. "Danica's birthday party. I just wanted to say thank you. I'd been thinking about hiring her for a rebrand of my boutique firm. After that night, I realized I'd dodged a bullet. If someone lies about something that fundamental, they'll lie about anything." I nodded. I'm glad it helped. She smiled and walked away. And for the first time since that night, I felt something close to peace. By December 2024, life had settled into a new rhythm. I was busy with end-of-year projects, finishing up that craftsman renovation and starting preliminary designs for a luxury ski chalet near Banner Elk. Work was good. Better than good, actually. Word had spread about what happened, and surprisingly, it didn't hurt my reputation. If anything, clients seemed to respect that I'd handled a difficult situation with composure. One potential client even told me during our first meeting, "I read about what you went through. The way you handled it showed character. That's the kind of person I want designing my home." I'd learned to protect myself years ago, long before Danica. My assets were structured under an LLC with ironclad operating agreements. I had separate accounts for business and personal finances, with clear documentation for everything. It wasn't paranoia, it was professionalism. And it saved me from what could have been a financial nightmare if Danica had succeeded in merging our lives legally. My lawyer, Lauren, had helped me review everything after the breakup, just to be thorough. "You're clean," she confirmed. "She has no claim to anything. Legally, you were never more than a boyfriend, and since you never commingled funds or made any joint purchases, there's no gray area." That was a relief. But more than the financial security, I valued the emotional clarity I'd gained. I'd trusted someone completely, and that trust had been weaponized against me. But instead of becoming cynical or closed off, I chose to see it as a lesson in discernment. Trust isn't given blindly. It's earned through consistency, transparency, and time. In January 2025, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Her name was Rebecca. We'd gone to design school together at NC State back in 2009. She'd moved to Charleston after graduation, built a successful interior design firm specializing in historic preservation. We'd kept in touch sporadically on Instagram, but hadn't seen each other face to face in over a decade. We met for lunch in Asheville. She was in town consulting on a project for the Biltmore estate. We talked about work, about the industry, about how much had changed since our school days. Eventually, the conversation turned to relationships. "I heard what happened," she said carefully. "With Danica." I nodded. "Yeah, it was a rough patch." "I can't imagine," she said. "But from what I saw online, you handled it with a lot of grace. A lot of guys would have lost their minds." "I thought about it," I admitted with a slight smile. "But what would that have accomplished? She made her choices. I just made sure those choices had visibility." Rebecca studied me for a moment. "You know what I always admired about you even back in school? You never let emotion override logic. You'd get passionate about design, sure, but you never let feelings cloud your judgment. That's rare." We stayed in touch after that lunch, started texting more regularly, sharing project photos, grabbing coffee when she was in town. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't intense, it was just easy, natural. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe around someone without wondering what they were hiding. I never posted about Danica again, never mentioned her in conversations unless someone asked directly. The video eventually faded from viral circulation, though it still lived somewhere in the depths of the internet, a permanent record of her duplicity. I heard she'd moved to Florida in early 2025, possibly trying to start over in Tampa where fewer people knew her story. I hoped she'd learned something. I doubted it, but I hoped. One evening in March 2025, I was finishing up a site visit for a lakefront property renovation near Lake James when my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Against my instincts, I opened it. "This is Brian Ellery. I got your contact from a mutual acquaintance. I wanted to reach out personally. I saw the video. I'm sorry for what my wife put you through. For the record, we've been separated since 2020, but she refused to finalize the divorce because of financial disputes over property we owned together. I filed on my own in late 2023. The divorce was finalized in October 2024. A month after your incident. I wanted you to know she's no longer legally tied to me or anyone else, and I'm sorry you had to be the one to expose what I'd been dealing with for years." I read the message twice. I didn't know how to feel. Vindicated, maybe. Sad for him, definitely. I typed back a simple response. "Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate you letting me know. I hope you found peace on the other side of it." He replied quickly, "I have. And I hope you do too." I did. I was finding it, slowly but surely. By late spring 2025, my business was thriving. I'd hired an associate designer to help manage the workload, a recent graduate from UNC Asheville with a sharp eye and strong work ethic. I was sleeping better, laughing more, enjoying my work without the constant undercurrent of doubt that had plagued the final months with Danica. Rebecca and I had started dating officially. Nothing public or dramatic, just two people who understood each other building something honest. She knew my story. I knew hers, including a difficult breakup she'd navigated in 2022. We didn't rush. We didn't perform for anyone. We just existed together, comfortably, authentically. One afternoon in June 2025, we were sitting on my back deck watching the sun set over the mountains, when she asked, "Do you regret how it all went down? The public exposure?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I finally said. "I don't." She built a career on helping people curate their image, project authenticity, manage perception, and all of it was built on a lie. If I'd just walked away quietly, she would have kept doing it to other people. Maybe the next guy wouldn't have had the resources or the support system to protect himself. Maybe she would have actually succeeded in conning someone into marriage, into merging assets, into a legal entanglement that would have destroyed them financially. I don't take pleasure in what happened to her, but I don't regret stopping it either. Rebecca nodded. You did what you had to do. I did what felt right, I corrected. And that's all anyone can do. Looking back now, 9 months after that birthday dinner in September 2024, I realize I didn't lose anything that night. I gained clarity. I gained self-respect. I gained the certainty that I could trust my instincts, that I could act decisively when it mattered, and that I didn't need to scream or rage or destroy to make a point. The truth, delivered calmly and clearly, was more powerful than any tantrum could ever be. Danica taught me that before you love someone, you have to love your peace. You have to protect it, guard it, and never compromise it for the comfort of pretending everything's fine when it's not. My legacy from that night isn't revenge. It's precision. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It's understanding that exposure, when warranted, is just accountability with an audience. I don't carry anger anymore. I carry lessons. And those lessons have made me sharper, wiser, and more deliberate in every choice I make. If you enjoyed this story, like this video, and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.